Hi, everyone. In the Facebook group, Artfully Connected with Cindy Harrison, me, Cindy Harrison, your host, and I am also the host of Artful Webinars. If you haven't heard about us, it is an online class, online service that brings you classes, webinars from artists from all over the world. And tonight we have a Watch, Learn, and Create, and it's with Miss Pat Lentine.
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How's
Good.
everybody else?
I hope they're doing good. And those who aren't, we're sorry. We hope that things get better for you soon. I just feel like I've been watching so many flood reels and the devastation in the country, and the world, and I feel bad for everyone who's lost, their homes and their cars and their loved ones as well. So just know that we are here for you and trying to, distract you from all that bad stuff. And hopefully you'll have a little enjoyment out of this class. This is Bella, right?
This is Bella.
Bella and her balloon, and it looks like a nice, bright, sunny day, and she's enjoying that balloon. So I want to thank everyone for being here tonight and joining us. If you are, you can let us know where you're from, as well as if you're going to be penciling along with Pat. If you are watching the replays, thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this replay. And again, if you have any questions, you can notify Pat by putting an @ sign in front of her name, and she will be notified that there's a question or a statement that you want her to see. And if you do this, again, please post it in the group and tag us so that we know and see what you've done. We always love to see what you've done. So please do that. And I'm just going to say, Pat, since it's 7:03, you can go right ahead. And I am going to go make sure that everybody finds us tonight. How's that sound?
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to spotlight your piece. Go for it.
Okay. I'm glad everybody's here. And this is Bella's balloon. And she's done on UART paper with Prismacolor pencils. And I always recommend it's nice to have whatever mat you're going to use handy to lay over it at the end. And I'll talk more about that at the end. But it gives you an idea of how you want the finished piece to look. And this particular size is conducive to this oval mat that I just happen to have on hand. Or you can use a square mat. She fits very well in a regular 8x10 square mat as well. And it looks good with a white mat too. So, even when I was working on this, I did not have the brown mat handy, but I did have the white mat handy at the end to check to see. And as I was working on it, I discovered that I didn't go far enough out here. So I had to bring it out farther, which I always hate, to stop a piece and then get a mat and then figure out that I have to go farther out. So anyway, this is Bella's balloon. And as I said, it's done on UART paper. I like UART paper, 800 grit, and it's a sanded paper. You could use pastel mat or a different sanded paper, but I've just been using UART for so long and I really like it. I have the tutorial is online on my website, www.patlentine.com. And it has all the instructions in it. Some of you may have already have it in front of you, but it's a nice little tutorial if you like this lesson and would like to have the tutorial. The supplies are Prismacolor pencils, and when I was setting up tonight, it just dawned on me. I think I might have missed something in there. I don't think I have peach on there, but um, I'll talk about that when I get to it because I'm thinking, did I not use peach? But there's not peach in the instructions. So anyway, this is a study in value, and I'm going to go to this again. This is a study in value, and we do everything um, in the neutral tones, and we get all of the values fixed in the neutral tones, and then we glaze it with color. And so you get all the hard part done on here, and you don't have to have 3 values of orange or 3 values of whatever color you're using, 3 values of yellow. You do all the value painting in with the neutral colors, and then you just glaze the color over the top of it. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And let's see if there's any. Oh, everything is done with the neutral colors, as I said. So let me find my light umber. That's what I start with. No, I start with the white, excuse me. Sometimes I start with the medium dark value, and I will do the medium dark value first. But in this case, I wanted to start with the white, the light, because if you happen to if you happen to make a mistake and not put the white underneath the light area, and you get your medium value on there, and then you say, oh, that should have been white. It's hard to get it white, but so you want to see where all the light areas are, and put them in first. And that's the first picture in the tutorial there. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the whites in first. Before you start, you might want to look at your piece and decide if any of the I want to zoom in just a little bit if I can. Cindy, maybe I need you to take me off spotlight for a minute so I can zoom. Okay. Okay, you can put me back on. You have to get there. Okay, so if you need, say this is a little dark over here, I'm going to take a piece of putty or a kneaded eraser, and I'm going to just tap that to soften the graphite lines. Anytime you want to soften a graphite line, or you want to or if you make a mistake and you want to erase it, this paper is not conducive to rubbing. You can do it, and sometimes when I have a really area that I need to erase, I'll take an eraser and I will erase it. But it damages the paper more when you do it that way. And if you just tap it, you're less likely to damage the paper. So that's the best way to get rid of harsh graphite lines. So I'm going to start with my white, and I'm going to start up here in the balloon area, and put a white highlight in the balloon. I might put some white highlights on the ribbon here. And I am looking back and forth. I mean, when I first did this, I decided where all these lights went, but now it's just easier to look at my reference here, and I don't have to make any decisions. So put a little white in there. Then I'll do the hair. So there's some light areas in the hair. And as anytime I'm demonstrating, I like to say that I'm doing this fairly quickly, and I may or may not get it exactly the way the sample is, or the original is, because takes time to do that and get it exact. So I'm just kind of hitting or missing here. And as long as it makes sense, if you don't get it exactly the same as the original, that's okay. I'm going to go to the flesh, put a little highlight here in this arm. I think this is the shadowed arm, so there's not as much highlight there. But this one has a light area. The light, I believe, is coming from the right, from what I'm seeing here. And put a little bit more light on this side of the dress. It has a ribbing here. And I want to talk about smoothness. This paper is rough to begin with, and whenever I work on this paper, almost every time, I will think, oh my gosh, this is so not smooth and it's not going to be good, but it does eventually smooth out. Having said that, when you're putting these, when you're putting the pencil down, you still want to do it as smooth as you can, because the undercoat needs to be as smooth as you can get it in order for the outer coat to be smooth. You can't have a rough undercoat and then as you continue find that it smooths out. It has to be as smooth as you can make it underneath. And again, there's more light on this side. Now I'm using a little bit of pressure with this white. Generally I use light pressure, but with this white I'm using a little bit more pressure. And everybody has a different hand. In other words, some people press harder, generally speaking, and some people don't. How many layers that you have on your piece is determined by how heavy your hand is. If you happen to be a person that just pencils very lightly, you will need more layers, because I can't always tell a person how many layers they will need, because everybody uses different pressure. So I used to use lighter pressure than I do now. I do add a little bit more, I think, than I used to, but I still try to use light pressure. And the first time I do a piece, my pressure is always lighter, because I'm not sure where I'm going with it. Once I know what I'm going to do, then I use, I tend to use more pressure. So I'm trying to get these lights in here. And again, I'm going fairly fast, faster than I would if we're doing it for fun. I'm just going to go back and check to make sure everything is there. You want these to have soft edges. You may not be able to see that I'm doing that, but like right along here, this is a fold. So this is a hard edge right here, but it's a soft edge right here. And that may or may not show up on the camera, but you look for, like, here's a pattern line. So that was a hard fold edge there, but on this side, it softens out. So you want to think about where your soft edges are. Up in the balloon here, I really wanted it soft all the way around. I didn't want it hard. And so you here on the flesh, I did it hard along the outside edge, and then I let it soften in. So you want to think about that whenever you're putting your color on. So you want to fade your edges out. Now I'm going to use my light umber, and I'm going to do this step, which is putting in all of the light umber shadows. And this is the medium dark. And you want to make sure, again, you have soft edges. In other words, say on this balloon, I would go along the outside edge. This looks darker than light umber. Let me check the number. Maybe it just looks darker on this paper. Yeah, it is light umber. Okay, this looks dark. Generally, it doesn't look that dark. Okay, so I'm going to put it on the outside edge, and then I'm going to let it fade in because I want this to be a soft edge as it fades in. Comes along the bottom. And as I go along, I try to cover up graphite lines and or erase them. So in the end, you don't want the graphite lines to show. So you want this to be a soft edge. Now, generally, the camera doesn't pick up the fine graduation of color. This is a little bit softer edge in person than you see on the screen because the camera doesn't pick it up. So then I'm going to shade this ribbon. Try to get that in. And this, what I think I missed, let me look on no, I didn't put it on the first one. No, I guess not. I thought maybe this had a highlight along the edge of this, but it doesn't. So I'm going to put the string in, and then I'm going to do the shading in the hair. And I'm not using heavy pressure now. It looks dark on the screen, but I'm really using a light pressure. And I'm trying to follow what I did in the beginning in the first one, but I may or may not be doing it exactly the same.
Well, isn't that just the way, hand things are, is you can never do it the same way twice?
Exactly. My I always say that years ago when I would do usually this was an acrylic, but I would do an acrylic piece, and I would then I would teach it, but I would do it for teaching, but I would do an acrylic piece. And there were things I didn't like about it. I wish I'd have done this different, or wish I'd have done that different. So then maybe I would do demos and teach it and do it a second and maybe a third time. And each time I would try to correct what I didn't like that I did the first time. And then when I would finish all of them, I'd set them in a row, and I almost always inevitably picked the first one. I never picked the ones that I corrected. The first one was always the best, in my opinion. I think because it's fresher or something. So I'm shading the flesh. And again, we're getting all these values in. So I don't need a lot of pencils. And if you want to keep your palette to a minimum, this is a good way to do it. It has a little button. And I forgot to highlight the button, so I forgot it, so I can do it now. I can put a little white in there. Okay, so here's where you kind of look at the folds and try to make it make sense. As I said, they may or may not be exactly the way the first one was done, but as long as they make sense, it doesn't matter. And I may or may not have got them just like the photograph either. So you get these shadows in. And it helps me sometimes to look at the screen and looking down at what I'm doing and looking at the screen. It's two different things. Okay, and I'm going to do the legs, keeping in mind that the light is coming from the right. So I'll put a shadow to the left. And these shoes are little, but can make them look pretty good. I didn't, when I transferred it, I didn't trace the double sole. She has a double sole here, but I just traced one line because I figured it would be easier than to just put a double sole on, or not a double sole, but to put the sole on. I didn't trace double lines, just one line. So there's a shadow under her dress, where her dress casts a shadow there, and then on the shoes. Strap. They're pretty little, but you just need a hint of them. And then I put some grasses in. When you do grasses, try to make them go in all different directions and not come from the same place. I see people do grass like this often, and you don't want that. You want them coming from different areas and going in different directions. So make them loose. Okay, the next thing to do is to put the beige in. On my beige. I pulled it this afternoon. I pulled these pencils to get the right colors, and I was going to go back and get more, and I didn't. So I'll have to show you what I pulled for the beige. I pulled one this little and didn't go back and pull another one, I don't think. Or maybe I do have another. No. Oh, I do have another one. Good. That was pretty little. Okay, so the beige, this is the medium value, and it blends into the light umber. We don't want hard edges. Now, I blended it like on the balloon here. I blended it over the light umber. I did stay away from the white. Now, when you do this, I'm not going to take the time, but when you do this, you want to lift those graphite lines. And if they don't lift, in this case, I would take a little bit of an eraser and try to erase them. Now, when we do the background, we can also kind of soften those lines with the blue when we do the background. But they were a little dark there. So if they're too dark, you want to soften them because it's better to do it now than later. So I put this beige, I'm going to kind of go into the white areas, but I'm not going to cover the white area completely. And here's where you need a sharp pencil. I'm sharpening it again because you do want to go into the grooves of the paper as much as you can. As I said, this paper, the first layers, it does not look smooth. And you just have to get used to that. But as you go along, you can end up making this just as smooth as any other paper that you use. So I'm going to go into I'm going to blend over the hair. Put the beige, the medium value over the darks and the lights. I'm not using a lot of pressure, but I am staying in one spot. My motto generally is if you need more color or more value, stay in one spot a little bit longer. Don't press harder. So that's what you want to do is just stay in one spot. So do it several times. I'm going to do the flesh areas as well with this beige. Now I didn't do let's see, I had to read my instructions. I was pretty sure. For the dress, originally, when I originally did this, I was going to make the dress white. But then I decided there was not enough color in the dress to make it white. Enough color in the piece for the dress to be white. So I changed my mind. So when I put the medium value in, I did it in the medium areas of the dress, but I didn't go over the white. I did go over the light umber areas, but I did not go over the white. And I think I missed a step now that nope, I didn't. I guess it comes later. Okay, so I stayed out of the white. I just put it in the medium areas, which the medium areas are like right here where there's nothing on the paper. The paper is showing through. It's hard to see that on camera because it's a similar value. I did go into the light umber. You can see I'm blending the light umber a little bit here. So I went into the light umber. And I mean, if it gets on the white a little bit, that's okay. But I did, at this point when I was doing the piece, I wanted to stay out of the white. So I didn't go into the white too much. And this beige blends the light umber as well. You can see it as I go along, it's blending. So then I'm going to do the flesh. And this time I am going over the white of the flesh. And I want to look at the picture. I think I did the shoes as well at this time, although I did turn the shoes brown later. So just put a little bit of this beige on the shoes. Okay, then this is what I thought I had missed, but I didn't. Dark umber. So this is the darkest value. And the dark umber is quite dark. It's a dark color. So you need to be light-handed with this and careful with this because you can get too white too fast. Now, I don't know if you can see, but my balloon shape was a little off and I'm trying to correct it. Don't know if I made it better or worse, but so I'm going to put the light umber just toward the left side. I'm not bringing it all the way over, or excuse me, the dark umber. I'm not bringing it all the way over. I'm just doing it on the left side here. I'll do it a little bit to the left side of the string and put a little bit in the bow. Now, when I first did this bow, I was paying a little bit more attention to how I felt the curl was. I don't know if that shows up in the photo. It might. But I paid a little bit more attention to where the dark umber went. So then I'm going to put the dark in the hair, and it's mostly to the left side, but there is some on the right as well. And she actually has kind of a dark, a light brown, a dirty blonde hair color, but you do need your darks in there. Okay, and I put some on the flesh tone. Again, I'm trying to stay with letting the light umber be wider than the dark umber. And I put the shadow on it a different side here than I did on the original, so a little bit different. A little on the waistband, mostly to the left side. A little bit on this arm. Not too much in the dress, but I did put some in the dress.
You might want to bring it up a little bit.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
sorry. And I just realized I forgot to line the stripes. The stripes are lined. So I'll do that. And I did that with the, first with the light umber. I think I only did it with the light umber. So get my light umber back out. Can you hear my pencil sharpener? Generally speaking, I would spend a little bit more time with these stripes to get them in the right place. They're, it shows up in the photo. I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm just kind of putting them in there. I'm going to show you here. They're and I for whatever reason, I didn't get them in here yet, but I do eventually put them in there. But they kind of are off center. You know, they don't all line up. They don't go exact because you want them off center because of the folds. So like they wouldn't match up exactly. So when you're doing that, take your time and kind of think about that. Okay, so I put some in the dress. So then I'll put some in the a touch on the legs, not too much on the flesh, but just a touch of the dark umber. You have to be careful with the darkest colors. Dark umber and black, for instance, they're very strong colors. So whenever you're using those, but dark umber is a nice rich color. I really like it. I like it for hair a lot, especially. Then I pulled a few dark umber blades of grass. Okay, then you have everything in here. So now you're wanting to just look at it, look at the sample, look at your reference picture, whatever you have, and decide, did I miss anything? Do I need anything more in here? And then I go back and I do it again. Not because I missed it. I mean, if I missed it, I would, but I go back and do another layer of everything. So I'm going to go back first with my light umber. And if I see like the string and the ribbon and that doesn't need much, so you know you don't have to do much, but you want the paper. You want what you're trying to do is fill in the paper where it's needed. Here it needs more because the the indentation, the grooves, whatever you want to call it, of the paper need to be eventually filled in. And if I go back with my medium color, I need to have this dark underneath. So this is the light umber. I'm just going back where I did before. And I remember I put the dark umber on there. So I'm blending the dark umber as I go along and moving out. If the dark umber, so in the beginning, we put in the light umber, okay? This is our medium dark, that's the beginning. Then we put in the dark umber, okay? The dark umber should not be as full as the medium dark. The medium dark is always more. Then we went with our beige. And we kind of blended that. The white is over here, so pretend we have the white in. But then we went with the beige and kind of blended that in. Now we're going back with the light umber. And again, the light umber goes a little bit farther than the dark umber. Now, generally speaking, I only do the dark umber once because it's usually dark enough the first time. If you need to go back, you can. But the dark umber goes a little bit farther. I mean, excuse me, the light umber blends the dark umber and goes a little bit farther. And we can put the light umber in any area that we missed or feel that it needs it. And in fact, as I'm looking at it, I think I need a little bit more right under here, under the waistband. So I'll darken that a little bit. And then I'm going to put it over dark umber here. And you just kind of rework what you already did. Then I'll do the dark umber if needed, but as I said, I rarely go back with dark umber. I almost always, and most people have enough dark umber to begin with. Then I'll go back with my beige. And with the beige, you're blending as you go along. The medium value usually does a good job at blending. And again, when I did my dress, I didn't go in too much into the white. I stayed mostly into the darks and the medium areas. Thinking about where the light source is. A lot of pencil shavings here, so I'm going to brush that in a minute. Generally, when I'm working on my own, I will sharpen my pencil a little bit more often than I'm doing right now. How many layers you do of that, of those colors? Oh, I did forget the white. I need to go back with the white as well. Of course. So just kind of strengthen the white. Almost forgot to strengthen the white. And each layer you do fills in the tooth of the paper a little bit more. And you can do that as many times as you need. Again, how many layers you do depends on how heavy your hand is. I ended up, I made a note and I said, I did one more layer. I'm not going to do one more layer tonight, but I did one more layer before I did the next step, which is brushing. And I use a bristle brush. This happens to be a little Cornell brush, 2015. I actually forgot I had that, but I have a lot of brushes and I keep different brushes because of color. I try to keep a brush for red and a brush for yellow and a brush for blue. That way, I don't have to clean my brushes. You can clean your brushes, you can wash them, but you have to wait overnight for them to dry before you can use them again. So I like to have different color brushes, and I have different brands, different colors. I try different brands out. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the balloon and I'm gonna brush and I'm gonna try to get close so you can see what happens. And you should usually generally clean your brush off before you use it. I start in the light areas and I'm gonna brush the light areas first. And I don't think that shows up on camera too much. When I go to brush this side, I'm hoping it'll show up a little bit more. I'll brush the dress next because it's the lightest areas, and I'm going to stay into the whites. I'm not sure if it shows how it is. And I'm using good pressure. I'm not sure if it's showing how it's blending, but it is blending. One thing I've discovered on with the Zoom is that right now this is magnified bigger than what do I want to say, real time or real size. This is bigger on your screen than it is in real size. So some of these lines that are going across that you can see there, this one, for instance, it's very prominent on the screen, but when I look at it in person, I barely see it. So keep that in mind. The screen does magnify everything. So I'm going to brush the light areas. And then I'll brush the shadows and hopefully it'll show up on this. And I probably should kind of clean it off a little bit first. I'm hoping that shows up, but it does work. And this paper takes so much abuse that what I like about it is you can go back and do this several times if you want to, and you're not happy with what you see, you can go back and put another layer in. Yeah, it looks a lot more blended. Some of these lines do not show up. Now I'm going to clean my brush again because I'm going to go into the flesh, and the flesh is a little bit lighter than the hair. And yeah, that's brushing. I did another layer and then I brushed again. So let me check. What we're doing okay on time. So I'm going to do another quick layer and then I'll brush again. So I'm just going to and I'm using probably using lighter pressure this time than I was the first time. But I'm staying in one spot a little bit longer. So I'm going to do another layer. And remember, you're doing all the hard work now. And these subsequent layers are always easier because you can see where you're going. You don't have to go back to the reference photo and keep looking back and forth. You're just kind of going back over what you did. So it goes pretty fast. People think that colored pencil, and colored pencil is slow. I'm not saying it isn't, but it can be meditative, especially at a stage like this where you're just, you don't have to think about it too much. You just kind of go back and do what you did before. So I did the light umber. Now I'll do let's do the white next. And on the screen, it looks like this is a hard edge here, which it is fairly a hard edge. It's not real soft. So to soften that edge, I'm going to go out farther with it because I don't want that to be a hard edge. One of my other mottos is if you have a hard edge and you need to soften it, the only thing that's going to soften it is the color that made it. If I had tried to put the beige over that and soften it with the beige, it would have just gotten stronger. That hard edge would have gotten stronger. So I needed to soften it with the color that made it, which was white. I can then go back and put the beige over it, and hopefully it'll have a soft edge. But if I'd have tried to soften that edge with beige, it just would have made it worse. And the same thing here. If I want this edge to be softer, I need to soften it with the color that made it, which in this case is light umber. And so I can soften that edge with light umber and then go back with the beige and blend into it. So you just have to keep working back and forth. And again, the screen shows it. There's on the screen, there's a real hard edge here. In person, that is not there. It's because the camera doesn't always pick up the graduation of color. Okay, so maybe a little white on the ribbon. Not too much white in the hair, but a little bit. Anywhere else I need to strengthen the white. And a combination, what this does, it brightens it, but it also fills in the tooth of the paper. So that's the purpose. And you can keep doing this until your tooth is filled in. Like I said, everybody has a different has a different pressure. So everybody is some people will take more coverage, more layers, and some people less layers. I'm going back with the beige and blending. Filling in the tooth, blending some of the shadows. Again, I kind of stayed out of the white with the beige. If you need the dark umber, you can go back with the dark umber. I might go back just a little bit. But afterwards, you can always reapply too. If you miss it this time, you can reapply next time. Okay, let's see. Maybe I need a little dark umber up here. You don't have to be afraid of the dark umber. You just have to be careful with it. That's all. Yeah, I think that might be the only place I need it. And I think after putting the dark umber in, I might blend it a little bit with the light umber. And then you can brush it again. And you can continue this, as I said, for as many layers as you want to get the effect that you want. The hair I brush with the direction of the hair. The balloon I kind of did in circles. And the dress I'll brush with the direction of the folds. Okay, at this point, if you need to clean up any edges, you will clean up edges, maybe get rid of some graphite lines, really pay attention to your work at this point. The next thing that I did was to put white over everything, and that's blending. And so and on the balloon, I went little circles. So I'm putting white over everything. It's filling in the tooth of the paper and it's blending. Now, when you get done with this, the piece the color looks very dead. It doesn't look very pretty, but it's a blending tool. And I want to tell you that before there was the colorless blender in the early times of Prismacolor pencils, people didn't have a blender. They didn't use a brush. I use a brush instead of a blender, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But they didn't have the colorless blender, so they used white to blend. The reason they developed the colorless blender is because the white, as you can see, changes the color. It makes it, it takes away the color. So they developed the colorless blender, which is made from just the binder, the wax binder. And so it blends without putting color on. So that's why they developed the colorless blender. Now, the reason I use the brush instead of the colorless blender is because the colorless blender does add wax. And the more wax you add to a piece, the harder, you don't get as many layers. So for me, the brush will blend my piece without adding wax. When I use the colorless blender, and I was going to mention it, but I forgot, I might use the colorless blender up here in the ribbon or on the string on areas that the brush, won't fit into. Those are the areas that I do use the colorless blender. But generally speaking, I prefer the brush because it does not add wax. Okay, so if you do this on your own, you will see that this really, you end up with quite a dead color here, but it did blend on the paper. Did blend the paper. So now I have to look. I go back and I go ahead with the colors that I used before. The light umber, the dark umber, the beige, and the white if needed. And I build. And the more layers you do, the smoother it gets. think I'm losing the shape of my balloon. So the light umber comes almost halfway across. And as you do this, the color gets richer and richer, and the tooth of the paper gets filled in, and it gets nice and smooth. Let's see, I lost my little. I lost my pattern there, and if I was doing this on my own, I'd really figure it out and get it in the right place, but I'll just put it in where I think it is. And again, you're going back, you can see where you've been, so it doesn't take as long. And I think that if I'm looking at my instructions, I think I missed a color again. I'll tell you about that in a second. I gave her a real, oops, I gave her a really fat leg there. I would lift it, but I think to save time, I'm just going to use this. And if I wasn't trying to speed this up, I'd probably take a little bit more time shaping some of these areas. But I don't want to keep you here all night. Okay, so I use light umber. I'll use dark umber if I need it. Maybe a touch over here. Just a touch of dark umber here and there. Because you do need your darks. Just be aware that you don't want to get carried away with this dark umber. And I always caution, I don't have black in this palette, but I always caution that when you use black, you have to be really careful, because just the lightest touch of black can make a big difference in the wrong way and in the right way if you have the right touch. Okay. And then I used beige to blend again. Beige is a good blender in this too. And that ribbon needs more work to make it look more realistic, but you get the idea. She has a barrette in her hair and I missed it. I might try to get it in later. Blend everything with beige. And what I think I might have missed in the instructions is it doesn't, at this step, it doesn't say white, but I'd probably go back with a little bit of white in the highlight areas. Brighten the white here and there. And here is where I use the brush. However, in the smaller areas, such as if I wanted to blend this ribbon, I would use the colorless blender in the ribbon and on the string, because if I use the brush, it would go into the background, unless you have a tiny, tiny little brush, which I do have a couple of those, but like I have this one, it's still not tiny enough, I don't think, but you can find a tiny brush to do that, but I usually use the colorless blender. But then I will brush again. And you can continue doing these layers until you get a good a coverage that you're comfortable with. You know, if you want more coverage, do another layer. Continue putting them on and brushing. This could take several more layers. I did want to show you, if you have how to correct something. I'm trying to look on the piece to see if there's someplace to show you, but I don't think so. So I'll do it down here. Now, remember I said the only time you can correct a piece is with the color that made it. And generally that is true. However, I did find on this piece, I'm putting light umber down and beige down. And then some white over here. Trying to just get what we have on the piece. An idea. Okay, so if this hard, I found on this piece, if this light umber edge is dark, sometimes like if to correct it, you would bring the light umber out farther, because I said the only color that softens it will be the color that made it. However, in this piece, sometimes, like for instance, if you had a real hard light umber edge here that you wanted to soften, or say on the leg here, if you had a hard light umber edge that you needed to soften, what I found worked was I took white and I softened that edge with white. And that did work on those smaller areas. And then I went back with the light umber and the beige, and I got rid of that hard edge. So that's just a little something to show you how you can get rid of a hard edge if you need to on a smaller area where you don't want to enlarge it. Okay, so that, like I say, you can do that many times. You can go back and do it again and again. I'm looking at my instructions right now to see if we're on time. I'm reading something. I don't know what it means. Oh, okay. So that's the first stage of this piece where you get it all in you get your values in, you look at it, you decide, are my values right? Do I need to change anything? Do I need to add anything? So you want to get it to the values done at this stage to where you want them. And then you start glazing colors. And in this case, I used lemon yellow for the yellow areas. And I just went over all of this with the yellow. And I'm using probably medium pressure on this one. You can see I'm staying in one spot a while. I'm not like I say, my motto is do more layers, not harder pressure. So I'm doing a medium pressure, but I'm staying in the area for a little while to do that pressure. Let's see, the ribbon is not done in that color. Did I do the hair? Yes, I washed the light areas in the hair with the lemon yellow. Didn't go over the dark areas. And then I washed the dress. And by washing, it's just what it says. I think I left, no, it looks like I did the button as well. And I'm just putting a wash of color. Now I didn't go into the stripes because I did the stripes a different color. Let's see, you don't need 3 values of yellow because you already have your values there. I did the bottom edge of the dress. And then I took orange and I washed the ribbon. Wash the waistband. And I already did that yellow. I don't know if I did in the original or not. I think it made it brighter because I washed it with yellow. And then I did the stripes. And with light umber, I washed the hair and the shoes. And I lightly go over the yellow, not very hard, but you know, you can lightly blend into that yellow highlight. I also put I'm not doing it on this one, but I put a orange barrette in her hair. And that's basically it. Looking at the screen, I see where I could use a little bit more yellow in certain areas. To the naked eye, I don't see it there, but it shows up on the screen. So but that's the washing of color. I will say, as I'm looking at it now, I must have missed in the instructions the peach. I'll have to go back and add those in, but the flesh, I always wash my flesh with peach, and I guess I missed that. It's just so common for me to do. I didn't even think about it in the instructions. Now the background, I did the sky using the side of the pencil, and I did sky blue. I think I'll just take the time to do one side here, but I did do the side of the pencil. And I kind of did it on a diagonal. Did I say sky blue? I don't remember what I said, but it's powder blue.
Yep, you did.
Yeah, the sky is powder blue. So I did it on a diagonal. And you could do more to the sky if you wanted to, but I didn't do too much. In the instructions, it says the sky was, let's see, on this side, I did the sky blue. On this side, I did the sky blue, or excuse me, the powder blue. On this side, I did the powder blue. On this side, I did the powder blue plus the next color, which is non-photo blue. And in the instructions, it says, don't make it this dark, because what I did end up doing after I did this and took the photo, I decided I didn't like it that dark, so I lifted it with my kneaded eraser. So go lighter with your non-photo blue on this side. I mean, unless you like it darker, but to me, it just distracted too much. So I didn't like it quite that dark. And then I brushed it. Find a blue brush here. Yeah, that's a blue brush. You know, it doesn't, maybe I didn't brush it. Oh, okay, never mind. I'm not ready to brush it yet. Okay, so I put the sky blue and then non-photo blue. Then in the grass, I put several colors, light umber, and I extended it a little bit more, as you can see on the finished piece or in this photo. I extended it, and I put all different colors in there. I put light umber, green, moss green, could use any green, although I wouldn't use this, what do you want to say, a vibrant green. I'd use a dull green, but You can pull these grasses wherever you want them. And I guess I forgot to pull a green. Let's see if I have one handy here. This one might be too vibrant. This is, I don't know what color this is, but I don't know where my moss green is right now. But you could put a little green in. I just, like I say, I don't like personally, I don't like a vibrant green. I would put a dull green in. I put some yellow in here. Just stroking different, stroking it in. I put the powder blue in here. Again, just stroking some in, and I did put some dark umber in there. And you can, go back and forth with these colors. And then I washed the sky again. First, what we did already was sky blue, non-photo blue. Then I went back with my sky blue again. Why do I keep calling it sky blue? It's powder blue because it's in the sky. But I went back with the powder blue again, and then I brushed it. And you can do this as many times as you want to. There's still a lot of background showing through here, or paper, I should say. But I think you'll be able to see. Let's let it focus. Now maybe I'll do it this way. Okay, see how the brush smooths it out quite a bit from what it is. See, that's what I started with, and then after I brushed it, it smooths it out. So the brush works pretty good. You can reapply anything to any or all of this as you see fit. You can go back and do whatever you want. I did then go in and with orange, and I tinted soft tints to the flesh. I put some orange on the flesh, which really really made it sing. The flesh was looking pretty dull, and this really helped to liven it up. I did on the hair, and I think this livened up the hair as well. And as I said, I guess I don't know that I got it in the instructions or not, but she has a barrette there of orange. You can put it in now and highlight it and shade it. And then I did put some orange in the grass as well. So that is that. And I always recommend you take a break from your drawing, wait a day, look at it. You'll see something you didn't see before. You can reapply, you can redo. This piece I haven't done it yet, but I'd spray it with Krylon workable fixative, because it might bloom, which means that it might get a wax coating on it. And the Krylon workable fixative will help to keep that bloom from coming. But here again, this is the finished piece. Here's the one I just worked on, and you'll see the finished one. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have fun with it, and post it and send me a message, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Or and this is the technique of putting down a grisaille painting and then just glazing color. And you can see all the work is done in the grisaille stage, and the glazing of color is just takes no time at all.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Everyone has enjoyed it. They've learned a lot of new techniques. You can go read the accolades after. But thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you, Pat, for sharing your talents with us. And if you're interested in more from Pat, go check out Artful Webinars because she's got a couple classes coming up. And I believe you're going to be here next week doing at the 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Pat. You're going to be doing the Santa ornaments.
Yes, yes,
Yes. And
yes.
so,
Right, and what was throwing me is I was thinking about another watch and learn, and you were saying 6 o'clock, and I'm thinking
no,
6. Yeah, that's
no, it's a
yes,
regular class.
yes, yes.
Part of the Christmas in July, as
Right.
everyone else is doing as well. So it's part of that. But yes, go check out her website, patlentine.com, as well as Artful Webinars to see what she's got coming up and other people. And I also posted in the chat that I'll be selling over 120 items tomorrow, I hope. Uh,
Oh,
I inherited a bunch from uh, a person who has passed on, but she left her house full of some good stuff, older books, some books we all have. It seems like we all have the same books sometimes, but some older books with surfaces that match. So there's a lot of holiday heart warmers and between the vines and things like that, that there are surfaces that are specifically cut to certain patterns. And I was able to match them. And so I'll be selling them as bundles. So if you want to check that out, it's New to You Artist Stash. And I put the link in the chat in the comments. So
into
hopefully,
artist stash. Okay.
yeah, and anyone can do these sales. You just have to contact the admins and they'll set you up with a sale and help you with any of your electronic technical needs as well as pricing and stuff like that. So give
And
us,
what time is that tomorrow?
it's always 9 p.m.
Oh,
and they typically go to 10:30 p.m. Eastern time.
okay.
Um, so yeah, so please join us. You have to join the group just like joining this group, but you'll be accepted and you'll be able to join us. We have a lot of fun. It's great. Maria Gramanis, Tina Niner, Teresa Niner, and Rosie Singalevich and myself. And the four of us have a great time. And there's a different seller almost every week. It depends on who's booking and we just enjoy it. So, anyways, hope to see you there. And thank you, Pat, once again. And we'll see you next week for your class.
Okay.
Everyone, have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend. Take care now. Bye bye. Maybe.